Continuing with the special meeting of Monday, June 15th, we are now up in the council chambers and we'll continue our special meeting. Number 3 on the agenda is the Charter Revision Commission. So I think a couple of the members are here. If you want to come on up, you can start with introductions and then, you know, take it away, go through some key points and any discussion topics you want to hit. And then we can open it for questions.
Good evening, excuse me. Good evening, Mayor Sakala, Deputy Mayor Santinella, council members. My name is Rich Shorney, 6 Bush Lane, and I've had the honor of representing the Town Council, or the 2026 Town of Enfield Charter Revision Commission, selected by the Commission to chair the meetings and discussions held over the past few months, the output of which is the document that was submitted to the Council in late May. I'd like to formally thank the members of the Commission for their energy, dedication to the residents of Town of Enfield, volunteering their time to produce what we consider a fair and balanced recommendation for the Council's review. Members of the Commission appointed by this Council include Kate Boulay, Vice Chair, Laura Ray Anderson, Secretary, Tom Cremona, Marilyn Crisati, Justin Elliman, George Shaw, and Greg Stokes. Further to the Commission members, we want to formally thank the residents of Enfield who submitted their suggestions to the Commission, to include our Council Liaison, Deputy Mayor Santinella, and Councilwoman Pisner. Lastly, we truly appreciate the help, support, and guidance provided by our Town Clerk, Sheila Bailey. With the support of the Commission, my primary goal as Chair was to ensure all voices providing input were heard and considered. This not only included the public's input, but also the work done by the Commission in 2025, 2 members of which were included in this Commission. As a tripartisan commission comprised of Democrats, Republicans, and unaffiliated, all of our meetings were conducted with respect of each other's perspectives, backgrounds, and opinions. While we did consider some political nuances, politics did not come into play in any of our decisions. No votes were taken until each of us felt comfortable with the comments, feedback, and discussion. While we did not always agree, once the formal decision and votes were made, as a group, we accepted it without issue. Our view and focus was the impact on the residents and how the town could best support their needs, understanding that this would bind the town for the next 10 years if approved by the council and via referendum on November's ballot. Highlighting the key components of the changes we proposed to the Town Council for consideration, some of which were non-substantive, such as various grammatical, punctuation, other formatting items, the use of more gender-neutral pronouns and titles, and the title change from tax collector to collector of revenue. Of the more substantive recommendations, we recommend the removal of constables as they are not used for any purposes by the town, the ability of both parties to fill vacancies without hindrance from the other party, and a provision related to unaffiliated or minor parties, the public's right to weigh in on any council district changes prior to the council's vote, codification of the minority leader position as part of leadership, minimizing the burden and associated costs of what gets published in the newspapers by the town clerk's office, clarifying requirements to remove a councilor or a council member, highlighting that the town manager's residence is strongly preferred to be in Enfield. While we did discuss making it a requirement, there is a legal opinion provided to the town attorney's office that the town clerk can provide that explains why this commission did not make it a mandatory requirement. Again, that was based on legal opinion provided to the town attorney's office. We also clarified the handling and timelines for filling vacancies, both for the town manager and the town attorney. Clarification that only those individuals who are electors of Enfield may be considered eligible to vote for any capital expenditures or borrowing, i.e. bond issuance from the town. And lastly, what we consider probably one of the more significant ones, the exclusion of federal, state, or grants pass-through funds from requiring a referendum when it's above the 0.02% referendum requirement for net expenditures of the town funds. The key here is that the funds have their own set of required use and accountability requirements from the issuing source. These funds have no impact on the town's fund balance or budget. The commission felt that this would allow the town to be more timely with receiving and utilizing the pass-through funds for the benefits of the residents. And again, clarifying, these are pass-through funds. These are not funds raised through town taxes or fees. These are funds applied for by the town from outside agencies for specifically defined purposes. In conclusion, this commission put real time, energy, and focus into a set of proposed changes that are needed, balanced, and equitable for the residents of Enfield. For the future Town Council Charter Revision Commission appointments, I personally recommend the structure used for this commission, comprised of unelected residents with non-voting council liaisons. There's no need for sitting council members to be seated in the commission members, as the council has the final say, which you're aware of, on which recommendations get pushed to referendum, if any. As a commission, we appreciate the trust you showed through appointing us to this commission. As you all well know, nobody likes evening meetings, but this commission enjoyed the work, dialogue, discussion, and developing the document for your consideration. Thank you. I am happy to answer any questions that the council may have and/or have anyone else from the commission speak that's in the audience.
Thank you. Before we open for questions or comments, does anybody else from the commission want to say anything? All right, your fearless leader has spoken. All right, so open it up for questions or comments if anyone from the council has any. Councilor Zanoni, go right ahead.
Thank you. I have two questions. So regarding Section 9 for the referendum on capital expenditures, so when you are considering excluding those grants and reimbursements, is that going to, maybe the town clerk could also answer this, is that going to impact what it looks like in terms of text for our voters when they look at it on the ballot for a referendum? So for instance, is it alter what we're also putting in for language for the referendums?
My understanding, and the clerk and/or the town manager can answer this probably better since they handle the finances more directly, because it is a grant or an allocated fund from the federal or state agencies, it does not go on our budget as an income line. It is essentially in a grant line that would then be allocated.
Yeah, I think the best way to look at this, so run a scenario, two different scenarios. One is we have a project, say $1 million, that we're getting, there's no town match, so it's just $1 million to do sidewalks. In that case, it would not have to go to referendum with this language. Now, if it was $1 million, but you have to match it dollar for dollar, that would have to go to referendum because that then is over that 0.00002, yeah, whatever it is, percent. And so the difference in this is that if you get a project funded by an outside source, state or federal money, over that number, you don't have to go to referendum. But if the town's match is over, again, you could be, let's say it's $10 million is the project, and you have to do a 20% match. So now you have to come up with $2 million. So you have to do a referendum for that.
Okay.
And so they just looked at it from the standpoint of, this is money that is, tax dollars that, should be voted on by the public because they're going to be using their money for it.
And if you can just refresh my mind, so when something goes to referendum, the language that we have in there, it just refers currently, and I know this is somewhat of a different thing, I'm just wondering from a public-facing perspective, when it goes to referendum, it references the bonding amount, correct? We don't include the grant in the text language, right? So there's no adjustments
two
there?
Two different things. So
Yes, I know they're two different things, but that's kind of...
Yeah, so if there is going to be any debt whatsoever associated with it, then it has to go to referendum, regardless of what that dollar exposure is. If there's debting going on, the charter clearly says it has to go to a vote. These projects would not be debted. They would be just strictly, you put the money in the budget or you've been saving it up from the town's perspective, and, you get this share of money from the state or federal government.
Okay, I'm appreciative of that.
And so just to be clear, so what it does is effectively allows you to start that project sooner rather than, okay, we have to do 800,000 for 4 years and then we can do the project. It would just allow that project to be done a lot sooner.
All right, I appreciate that. And my other question, and I know that it was a council member who's not here today, so can you just elaborate as to what the reason is for having the 2 alternative members of the BAA? I know that's a change that you're suggesting.
Yes, so that one, given that there's only 3 standing members of that commission, our perspective was that having the 2 alternates would allow that commission to continue to operate if 2 of the other members could not attend, right? We don't want the meetings not to happen because there aren't enough alternates. And an alternate doesn't have a vote unless they're seated, so our perspective was having the 2 alternates was in line with other commissions and structures.
Okay, and is this in line with other Board of Assessment Appeals in other municipalities? So if they have 3 members, they normally have 2 alternates? So we're following the traditional procedure there?
This commission did not look at other town structure for that.
Okay. Do we have any other commissions that are 3-member commissions in town?
No.
I don't think so off the top of my head.
And I don't want to speak for the deputy mayor, but I think some of the perspective is that the amount of alternate members that's like 2/3 of the sitting people. So when we have alternates, when you have the Planning and Zoning Commission, you only have, what, 2 to 3 alternates? Like proportionally, that's a lot. And so I'm
Understood.
just wondering, like in context to other municipalities that have that same structure of what they would have.
And
Go ahead.
Councilor Zanoni, in 2 of the other towns that I've worked in previously, they did have 2 alternates, and part of that was because they wanted representation on both parties as alternates.
So that piece is important. I appreciate that. Okay. I don't have any further
Yeah.
questions, Madam Mayor.
Yeah, I just to go along with that, to my knowledge, that I thought that this was pretty similar to what the previous commission, which Zach, you were part of, I don't think there was anything that was really altered from that
On
to
that
this
one, we kept it that way because we were
Correct.
comfortable with the rationale. with
So
that.
everything was kept the same. This is nothing new.
Yeah, no, it's
so,
just I'm
yeah.
old and my memory is
No,
fading. So
No, but I'm just reinforcing your memory
Yes.
because I remember correctly.
And
And you guys did a great job. Thank you.
And that is true. We did, when we reviewed the prior commission's red line, we used that as a starting point, and each of our discussions were around those red lines and any other suggested changes. That was one that we maintained because we were comfortable with that structure. Of course, council can, I believe that the process is you could send it back to us to reevaluate that if that's your decision.
All set, Zach? Thank you. Okay. I just have one question. I know you do too, Maria, if that's okay. So I have a question on the vacancy piece, which is section 4. So it says notwithstanding the need for the affirmative 6 votes, but if we have to replace an elected official, in essence, you're meaning it's going to be picked and filled by the party that the vacancy exists in, right?
Correct.
Okay. If there's a scenario, say in the town council, you still need 6 votes. If there's a scenario where it's 7-4 and the minority party is the one that needs one replacing, they still need 6 votes. So is it not, it's being picked by that party or filled by that party? And I know it sounds like I'm wordsmithing, but when I'm reading through this, it sounds like there's still a scenario where the entire council still has to vote, and regardless if there's less than 6 people on the party that's replacing one of their own, they still need.
So it was our intention that if one party, or to give that one party the chance to select the replacement.
Correct. Which I totally agree with.
I don't know that the wording was evaluated based on the need to vote, and I might turn to town clerk just for clarification on that one.
So that verbiage was approved during the last Charter Revision Commission by the town attorney, and that notwithstanding language at the front was to exclude the vote to fill a vacancy does not require. The charter would override that 6 vote.
Okay.
And for instance, if we have an 8-3 and one of the Republicans were to resign,
They just need 3.
Correct. They just need two,
Okay.
the
so-
remaining parties. So that was to carve out that one exception to the 6 votes.
Okay. And so for that example, really, it would just be, I guess procedurally, I'm trying to figure out how it would work procedurally. You would just call out 3 names, and then as long as 2 out of the 3 agree, right? And is there a fallback or a safety net if that party doesn't pick somebody within those 60 days?
I believe the fallback would be the standard council process with voting on the individual, if it doesn't happen within those 60 days.
I think that the fallback would perhaps need to be a suggestion from the council and have that language added. I'm trying to think if there's another place in the charter where that was addressed, and I don't believe it was.
Right.
The 60 days has, by the way, always been in the charter. We just haven't always adhered to it.
Right, right. Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Counselor Prisoner, go right ahead.
So I had a question on that as well, which they just answered.
Yep.
Because we did go through this
Mm-hmm.
on my first term on the council. And I do think it's right that if we lose someone of our caucus,
Mm-hmm.
we should be able to replace them, first and foremost. However, if we can't find somebody, then it goes to a vote. Oh, I'm sorry, Gina, you're right. So I do. I did look at that for that same reason, because I lived through that the first term of my council. And so I do agree that I think the caucus should have the right to put up the person they want. And if they can't find somebody within that time, then yes, it goes through the same standards as it always did. The other one that I had was, I agree with the town manager. However, I'd like to see that same liberty with the town attorney. And again, through my 5 years on the council, I've seen that it is not always easy to hire a good town attorney. So I think we give the grace on the town manager of 2 90 days plus a 30. And I'd like to see that same grace given to the town attorney, 2 90s plus a 30.
We did discuss that. The impression that we received was that it's not as difficult to find an attorney that's familiar with town-based law and that versus is to find a qualified town manager. And that's the reason why we did keep it different. But we're open to anything the council may send back.
Yeah, and if I can just add to that, so there's a difference because generally you're not going out of the state or the attorneys don't have a contract they have to get out of. And so that's, in my mind, a little bit of difference between a town manager and that, and why we looked at expanding the time, for both actually, but a little bit more for the town manager because, again, if it takes a while for council to get, what they're looking for out and they go around and they didn't like the first group and they have to do another round, and so you probably could do that within the time frame, but then you have to deal with their contract where they're at, and now all of a sudden you're beyond that time frame that's in the current charter. So that's why we kind of looked at that one a little bit differently than the town attorney. Generally, they have to be in the Connecticut bar. So they're most likely going to be in Connecticut, so they're not relocating from another state.
Okay, fair enough. And my same question did come up for 9, just like Counselor Zanoni. I had to read it. I'm not going to lie. I had to read it probably like 5 times out loud.
It took us a while to get it right.
Yeah.
Ish.
To kind of make it make sense. So I'm going to leave that at that then.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Counselor Hall?
This one. This is yours.
Thank you.
Yeah, that one's yours. No, that's not mine. So let's see. Mine goes to the referendum.
Right here.
That was the Board of Assessment Appeals. Yeah, no, it's a different
At
page.
the end. Keep going.
So my concern, and I see where you were going with the referendum piece and the spending of the money. The only problem I see coming with that is, for example, the board funds. So if you're getting money from the federal government and it's very specific and it's designated like for roads or sewers or very specific repairs, that makes total sense to me because you can utilize those funds, and if that's all the project takes, it's simple. It gets a little muddy, I think, when you, and it wouldn't be if we didn't have the 2% carryover now for boards of eds. So prior to that, I wouldn't have seen a problem with that at all. But the problem with the funds that now the Board of Ed can keep, they get their ECS funds, which are millions and millions of dollars, and then whatever they have in excess at the end of the year, they can keep in a 2% account. So what that opens the door for is the Board of Ed's making decisions for the towns on major construction repairs and saying, well, you know, that was really state money that's in that account. I think it's going to be tricky to try to pull those funds apart and then make sure that all those ECS dollars are either designated to specific school uses, or are they using town funds for those 2%? So that's the only hard part for me in that section. I don't want to see the taxpayers' right to weigh in on major projects go away on certain projects that the schools feel like maybe they can push forward without a vote. So I like the paragraph, and I like the way you guys were thinking on that, because it simplifies a lot of projects that we do. The only little thing I would probably like to see added is it would exclude any school projects or school construction. So that's my only feedback on that section, and that's the only concern I kind of see in that section. But the rest of my questions have been answered by everybody else. So I would just like for you to take a look at that and see logistically how that would work on the school side of the house. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Counselor Matthews, was your hand raised?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to go to her, and then I'm going to go to Maya, because we only have a couple more minutes, and then I'll go to you, Zach.
Okay, first, I want to commend you guys on formally recognizing the minority leader. I think that's a great change to make, to formalize that position and give everybody kind of a voice and not just a standing seat up here. The only question that I had was, I see that the animal control officer was moved from under the public safety officer under the police chief, which makes sense to me. But it also keeps that public safety position. It kind of feels like a ghost position a little bit to me. I see that there was discussion as to qualifications for that position. I'm trying to kind of firm up what it is and what that person does. I feel like I have an idea of what that position is, but I'm interested to know what that discussion was and how we are, what we are saying that public safety officer is responsible for.
So this was one that we
Director, yes, not officer.
Yeah. This was one that we discussed on how best to leverage that role that's floating in there, as you said, a ghost role. Based on our discussion, that role is not really utilized unless there's significant issues going on. And until or if someone is appointed to that role, whether permanently or temporary, it falls to the town manager to manage that as a resource. We did express concerns about the plate of the town manager in terms of all that. But again, if we're talking about a situation where we truly need someone dedicated to a public safety role or that level role as a director level, we were all kind of under the impression that that would be someone that the council would define through the town manager's recommendation, right? Whether it be a full-time or a part-time type role, if I have that right.
Yeah, and I think, so we do have a good job description already in place for that, and I'll kind of go back in time. When I first arrived in 2006, we were in the process of bringing up and getting running the EMS. And there was a lot of issues working with the fire departments and, making sure that the system was running the way it needed to be. Before I actually got here, they appointed the acting manager, town attorney, as the director part-time. And that position stayed in place for a length of time. I don't know exactly when it went away. But I think it probably went away because, EMS became established, the fire departments, was working, the system was working, and that position really didn't need to be there. Now, we don't foresee anything today, but we don't know. There's talk about consolidating of the fire departments. There could be issues with dispatch, all these things that, we may need someone that's going to be working with the fire departments or other entities that really is a project in and of itself. Probably doesn't make a lot of sense for the town manager to spend all their time just doing that. And so this allows the flexibility for the town to say, we're going to appoint this position because we have a very specific issue, item, project, whatever, very similar to what we did with EMS, and it makes sense.
And also, adding to that, it was not only to give the town the flexibility to appoint that if needed, if and when needed, but also to try and be more budget neutral in terms of not demanding that role be filled. A head count's a head count. It's we just got done budget season, so we're very mindful of the added cost by just having someone filling a role if it has not been used regularly.
Right, okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Counselor Zanoni, go ahead. We have about a minute.
Okay, so I guess I'll approach Councilor. So my question for the Board of Ed is, what role does because I don't remember that we have much purview with that, because the Board of Ed's funds are governed by state statute and how they operate. So my question is, what purview would the charter have in it? Because I agree with your point, but I'm wondering, does the council have authority in regards to that, into dictating how those carryover funds are utilized, or would they be governed by state statute in regards to the school construction? Because the laundry list of things we have to do for those applications, I would think, is that something on their end that even we could put the language in, but is it redundant if the state governs how we're going to handle those funds?
So I guess where it gets muddy, in my opinion, Councilor Zanoni, is the fact that they're saying that any funds that come from outside sources, for example, the state ECS funds we know are millions, close to $30 million. So if the school, like has been pointed out, they're keeping that 2% in an account to renovate administrative offices, that really totally would sidestep the referendum vote for the people in general. And right now, they can't do it because of the way our referendum language is. This murks it up a little bit with saying that any state or federal outside funds wouldn't come into play for referendum work. You know what I'm saying? I think it just muddies it. That's my concern.
They would still come before
if
the
they came
DPW
up,
committee, right, if they were to do that work, because it's our buildings.
Well, only if they have enough money to do the renovations. The way I read this, and maybe I'm reading it totally wrong, is it's their money. They could say, well, technically, it came from state funds.
Yeah.
So we can spend them however we want with the way this paragraph reads, to me. And maybe it just needs a little bit more of a clarification.
I'm going to
in
go
that
to Matt.
piece. But
So, and then maybe Matt can put a pin in it.
I think in our mind, if you ask me the question, I would say that doesn't qualify as outside money, because as soon as it goes into that 2%, But I understand your point. And I think it could be clarified a little bit more
Okay.
to put that in if council wanted.
Okay, because that's my
I
only.
understand what you're saying.
I like all the other pieces
Yeah.
because I think it makes sense. I mean, the federal dollars coming for roads, I get it. It makes total sense. I don't want to see money put aside over the course of 3 or 4 years and then one department decide they want to do this massive project and say, well, those are state funds there and we can do what we want with them. And that's all I'm looking for is a little bit of clarification just for that point.
All right, I want to just, go ahead, and I just want
No,
to
I
make sure
just-
Zach is done, and then we
Yeah,
gotta stop.
I was going to say that I think the language for us here, with
Okay.
people that are talking about this, I
Yeah.
think would be clear enough. But I think going forward, you would want that because I do know how things get spun a little bit
Yeah.
differently.
Yeah.
And so I think it would be worthwhile. Because again, the intent is not to take away the right of the voter using town funds to
Right.
do projects.
Right.
Right? I mean, that's not what the intent is. It's
Right.
just if the town gets the money from the state for a project.
Right.
I mean,
100%.
in our mind, it's
Agree.
a defined project.
Yep.
Here's $5 million
Yep.
for sewer,
Agree.
and we don't have to do any match.
Yep,
You know, we want
agree.
to spend that money as soon as possible.
Makes total sense, and I agree 100% with that. Yep, thank you, Matt. Thank you.
Anything else, Counselor Zanoni?
One final question, and Counselor Matthews had alluded to it with the Public Safety Director. I know when myself and Counselor Crissati were on that commission, one of the conversations that was brought up that you didn't reference was the kind of the power balance that could be if, because I know that the chief of police at the time had recommended to the commission that we eliminate that position. And there was reservations at that time from Mayor Nelson about some of the language in here and the impacts that would have kind of for personnel matters.
Right.
Because that's referenced in here. And so leading to that is I noticed you kept the merit system in reference, but I recall that we don't necessarily practice it, but it's still in our charter. So is there a reason we're retaining it? It's at the last part, and it's referenced under the Public Safety Director's charge.
We left the structure from the merit system perspective in place. We added one extra filter, if you will, that after a certain amount of days, it does have to go to the town manager for discussion, excuse me, discussion and review, right? I think that was missing previously. The structure that was there in place, we really didn't find any issue with the way it was structured originally. Again, the system just had to be highlighted or cleaned up a bit so that it wasn't just in the chief of police purview that town manager still the town manager, and conversations we had where it's not an issue today. We do see how it could be later on in the future, and we want to make sure the town manager was involved in any personnel matters, if that helps.
Thank you. Any closing words, comments?
No, again, on behalf of the commission, we appreciate it. We actually enjoyed it in a strange kind of way, and we look forward to your feedback and perspectives.
Thank you very much. All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn the special meeting, please?
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? 10 in favor. Any against? None against. We are adjourned. (6:37). We're a few minutes late. Sorry for that. We are going to start the charter revision public hearing on Monday, June 15th at 6:30. We're going to start with a call to order and roll call, please.
Counselor Allegro.
For?
Mayor Sakala.
Here.
Counselor Crissati.
Here.
Counselor Hall.
Here.
Counselor Mangini.
Here.
Counselor Matthews.
Here.
Counselor Pisner.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Santinella is absent. Counselor Thomas.
4 in here.
Counselor Ungary.
Here.
And Counselor Zanoni.
Here.
10 members are present, 1 is absent.
It's hard to go first. I get it.
It's always on my mind.
Oh, okay. All right, public hearing ground rules. The following notice of public hearing was published in the Journal Enquirer on Tuesday, June 2nd, 2026. Town of Enfield legal notice. Notice is hereby given that the Town of Enfield shall hold a public hearing in the Enfield Town Hall Council Chambers, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, Monday, June 15th, 2026 at 6:30 to solicit public input on proposed revisions to the Enfield Town Charter, dated the second day of June 2026. All right, ground rules. There has been a sign-up sheet. Only one person wants to chat with us about charter, so after he is done, I will open it up to anyone else who is in the audience, and I will make sure that I write your name down if you wanted to speak. So no time limit, just obviously don't take up our whole 30 minutes in case there is more than one friend that wants to comment. So come on up. Name, address, and then the floor is yours, Mr. Young.
It is now. George Young, 8 Holly Lane. We should applaud the Charter Revision Committee for the tireless work they did to update a document that the town needs to guide them for the next 10 years. However, I have enough comments and from I heard tonight and questions that probably suggest that the vote to approve the resolution tonight should be tabled. There is plenty of time to finish it and approve it, to do it right. Well, let me start. I'm going chapter by chapter, so if you want to just open your little book that has the chapters in it, I'll try and keep it in order. Chapter 2, Section 2A and B, page 3. Question, why would the term of office for the council begin on Monday following Election Day and the term of the BOE not start until second Tuesday following Election Day? Why doesn't the BOE member start the Tuesday following Election Day? That is just a question. Chapter 4, Section 2 on page 8 and Section 4 on page 9 appear to conflict regarding the absence of the town manager. On page 8, the criteria has been changed so that the council may appoint an acting town manager in the event of a vacancy. And now the reasons for the vacancy have been deleted. On page 9, it states that the manager shall designate one of the manager's appointees to serve as acting town manager during the manager's absence. I think there needs to be a definition of vacancy, first of all, as it was previously clear. More importantly, in the succession of command, why wouldn't the assistant town manager be the acting town manager for the temporary period? The same comment would apply during the manager's absence. Chapter 4, Section 3, page 9, town manager duties. In the second sentence, the commission has changed the word shall to may, which seems to be redundant throughout this whole thing, and we never asked for a word like will or something like that. This is a constant change throughout the document. Did they miss some in Chapter 4? Yeah. Section 4, page 9, in the first sentence under appointments. The manager shall appoint all department heads, and in the last sentence, the manager shall designate. When they use the word shall and may, I don't think these words are strong enough. I would suggest using will, for example, to clearly state what the responsibility is that the person needs to do. We had this discussion many years ago when the town manager must reside, not must, shall reside or may reside in Enfield. And that was a word that really has no authority. Chapter 5, appointments by the town manager, by the town council and the manager, Section 8, Department of Finance. Page 11. It clearly states that financial reports shall be prepared for each quarter and for each fiscal year and for such other periods as may be required by the town manager. Once again, I don't believe the word shall is strong enough and should be replaced by will, as previously suggested. Chapter 5, Section 9, Department of Public Works. The first sentence of 9 lines is much too long and needs to be broken up into more than one sentence, especially where there are only 2 sentences in the whole paragraph, and the last one has only 3 lines. It's hard to read when it's 9 lines long and understand. Chapter 6, Section 5, page 18, emergency funding. In this long first sentence, it states that emergency appropriations not exceeding 1% of the current budget in any one fiscal year may be made upon the recommendation of the manager and by a vote of not less than 6 members of the council. I believe it should read, and by approval vote of not less than 6 members of the council. What I'm adding in there is approval, not just a vote. And it only says a vote now. Or it should be approval of at least 6 members of the council. There is ambiguity in this portion of the requirement. In addition to that first part of the sentence, in the remainder of the sentence where it lists where the notice of a public hearing should take place, it states, and in a newspaper having circulation in town. I believe there was an effort to not require the newspaper anymore, so it should probably be removed. Chapter 8, Section 6, page 22. Is the effective date going to be the date of the referendum, or is it tonight or sometime other than that? That's all I have for now. I'm sure it was enough. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Young. You were the only one that signed up. Does anybody in the audience want to speak regarding charter revision at the public hearing? All right. I am going to declare that public hearing closed right on time. Very good. All right, let me pull up the next public hearing. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion made, seconded, all in favor? All right, 10 members in favor, none against, so that public hearing is adjourned. We are going to roll into the 6:45 public hearing regarding the WPCA as soon as I find it. Okay, so I'd like to call to order the public hearing of Monday, June 15th at 6:45 in the council chambers, the Water Pollution Control Authority public hearing with roll call, please.
Counselor Allegro. Here. Chair Sakala.
Here.
Counselor Crisati.
Here.
Counselor Hall. Here. Counselor Mangini. Counselor Matthews.
Here.
Counselor Pisner. 4. Vice Chair Santinella is absent. Counselor Thomas.
Here.
Counselor Ongire. And Counselor Zanoni.
Here.
10 members are present, 1 is absent.
Thank you. The following notice of public hearing was published in the Journal Enquirer Wednesday, June 3rd, 2026. Town of Enfield legal notice. The Enfield Water Pollution Control Authority shall conduct a public hearing in the town council chambers at Town Hall, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, on Monday, June 15th at 6:45 to allow interested citizens the opportunity to express their opinions regarding the proposed sewer service fees and rates for fiscal year 2026-2027. Information can be found at the town clerk's office or on the Town of Enfield website. Sheila Bailey, Town Clerk, June 2nd, 2026. The ground rules are the same. I didn't read them all for the last one because, George, you were the only one that signed up. You were the only one that signed up for the WPCA one. But technically, you're supposed to have 3 minutes, and then you get another 3 minutes on the second round. But you are our only friend who wants to talk to us tonight about WPCA. So come on up, George. Thank you. Same thing, just name and address.
Once again, George Young, 8 Holly Lane. I realize that tonight we're just here there'll probably be no change in the rates this coming year by the WPCA. I've spoken previously on many occasions over the past 5+ years regarding a rate setting and the members of the WPCA. I believe it is a conflict of interest to have the WPCA have only members of the town council on the Water Pollution Control Authority, because they not only set the rates here, they also approve the town budget and control the mill rate. We do not allow the finance director to handle the treasury functions because of the basic separation of duties. The separation of duties here is long overdue. Then the mayor, the deputy mayor, and a member of the minority party on the council become the judge and jury on appeals to the WPCA overcharges. It only takes a couple members of that group to deny a taxpayer a valid claim and save funds for the WPCA. For many years, I have requested a comparison of what the town is charging the WPC for its service since the inception of this charge 10-plus years ago. It is still the same $390,000. And what would it be at today's rates? At the last council meeting, the town manager, who was here when the original study to determine the rate was done, has indicated that a new study needs to be done. Let's do it and find out if anything changed in those estimates in over 10 years. Now I ask the current council, who are also the WPCA, to request this action to take place. Real estate taxpayers should not be supporting the excessive water users. The WPCA is governed by Chapter 103 of the Connecticut General Statutes. It is still subject to oversight and must comply with state regulations. It should be noted we no longer have an ad valorem tax. Mr. Santinella said it very clear at the last council meeting that the council still would make tax decisions on the town side, and a knowledgeable committee would make decisions on the sewer service fees and rates. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Anyone else in the audience want to speak at the public hearing for the WPCA? Anyone for the second time? All right, I will declare the public hearing for the Water Pollution Control Authority closed, and can I get a motion to adjourn? Motion made
second.
and seconded. All in favor? 10 in favor, none against, and we roll right, so the public hearing is adjourned, and we're going to roll right into the WPCA special meeting, which is that should be in your packets, and that is immediately following that public hearing. So I'm going to call to order the Water Pollution Control Authority special meeting of Monday, June 15th, 2026, with roll call, please.
Councilor Allegro? Here. Chair Sakala?
Here.
Councilor Crisati? Here. Councilor Hall?
Here.
Councilor Mangini?
Here.
Councilor Matthews?
Here.
Councilor Pisner?
Here.
Vice Chair Santinella is absent. Councilor Thomas?
Here.
Councilor Ungary?
Here.
And Councilor Zanoni.
Here.
10 members are present, 1 is absent.
Thank you. Number 2 on the agenda is approval of the meeting minutes. For the first one, I know several people up here were not present or on the council, and I know Councilor Ungary, Councilor Mangini, and myself also were not here, but we were on the council. I did review it, so if you guys are going to vote in favor of it, that's fine, because if not, I think it would still need to be tabled until we do review it. So can I get a motion to approve the June 16th of 2025 minutes?
Motion.
And a
Motion
and a
made
second.
and seconded. Any additions, questions? Okay. All in favor? 5. So there's 5 in favor. Any abstentions? Okay, so there's 5 abstentions. So that's just going to remain on the table. So it's 5 and 5. Okay. And can I get a motion to approve the June 1st, 2026 meeting minutes?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions or additions on that? All in favor? 10 in favor, none against, no abstentions. All right, number 3, discussion resolution adopting the 26-27 sewer service fees and rates. All right, I don't have a resolution. I have the meeting minutes. The WPCA meeting minutes. Oh, wait, it's down at the very end. I'm sorry. Resolution setting sewer use charges for 26-27 billing. Okay.
You have that?
Go to, yeah, it's the second to last. Yep, second to last. So whereas in accordance to Chapter 103, Section 7- 255 of the Connecticut General Statutes, the Water Pollution Control Authority held a public hearing on June 15th, 2026 at 6:45 PM and accepted comments on the proposed 26-27 sewer service fee schedule. Now therefore be it resolved, the Enfield Sewer Authority does hereby adopt the sewer service fee schedule attached hereto as Attachment A, prepared by the Town Manager's Office on June 15th, 2026.
And a second?
Motion made and seconded. Matt, if you want to just do a quick overview, I know there's no
Quick
change.
overview, council adopted the budget for fiscal year '27 for the WPC. This is the rates, these are the rates that will need to be passed to effectuate that budget. I'm going to point out something in what you have tonight, the billed consumption over 20,000 is a different number than last year's budget, but I think last year's number wasn't reflective of the right number for that. There was an error, I think, in the resolution. But what's here is actually what was being charged for that over 20,000 consumption.
So what's in the rates is what the intention was,
Yes.
what the discussion was, what was
Yes.
passed, but just not what was written?
Correct. I think last year, because leadership at that meeting.
Last year.
Well, this year, leadership,
Yeah.
what we gave you reflected effectively taking what was adopted by council last year
Yep,
and moving it forward, which would have been no rate changes,
correct.
right? Then I took a couple days off. Things changed. They found that there was an error in that last year, and the number that actually was being charged and was the increase that was approved by the WPCA, but just wasn't in the resolution as it was adopted, I guess, is the 1153 per thousand.
Okay, so that's what was approved. What's in
Well-
here? Yeah,
Technically, yes.
great. So this is what is no change from last year? Okay. All right. Any questions for Matt?
And is that an accurate reflection, John? Yes, okay.
It's just for the, not for the, it's just for the ones with meters, sewer meters.
Yeah.
Not deduct meters, sewer usage meters, like only one of those.
Okay. Okay. Is it Commissioner? Commissioner Hall? Okay.
Thank you. So Matt, just a point of clarification, nothing is going to change in people's sewer use bills this coming year from last year?
Correct.
As far as the rate goes?
Yes, that is a valid statement.
Okay, and then secondly, does anything that was not recorded correctly affect anywhere in our budget?
No.
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 Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Yeah, I think, again, there was just an error that the number wasn't changed to what, in that particular, wasn't changed to what was going to be charged. I think there was already an understanding of what that was based upon the percentage increase. It just didn't get in that. Yeah,
Okay. So what we're voting on tonight is no change from last year.
correct.
All right. Any other discussion or questions? Roll call, please.
Counselor Allegro.
Here.
Chair,
We're voting.
is that a 4?
Wow.
Chair Sakala.
4.
Counselor Crisati.
4.
Commissioner Hall, sorry. 4. Commissioner Mangini. 4. Commissioner Matthews. 4. Commissioner Pisner. 4. Commissioner Thomas.
4.
Commissioner Ungary. 4. And Commissioner Zanoni.
4.
10 members in favor, none against.
Yes, that's all we're going to say. Yes. We're going to do a hand vote the rest of the night. Hand vote only. It actually will go quicker. Hand vote only. The good news for you is that the regular meeting, you're not going to go first. It's going to be Carol. Yes. Can I get a motion to adjourn, please? Okay, all in favor? All right, Counselor Pisner stepped out, so it's 9 in favor, none against. All right, we will resume once we get it together in about 2 minutes. Regular meeting of the Town Council to order. It is 7:01 on June 15th, 2026, in the council chambers. We're going to start off with item 1, which is the prayer by Councilor Hall, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us take a moment to pause, center our minds, and reflect on the purpose that brings us together today. We gather this evening as public servants entrusted by our community to lead with wisdom, integrity, and grace. As we enter into tonight's deliberations, we ask for the spirit of patience, understanding, and humility. Remind us that while we may not always see eye to eye, our shared commitment to the people we serve is greater than any individual difference. Bless this body with the strength to listen before reacting, the wisdom to value opposing viewpoints, and the grace to treat one another with unwavering kindness and civility. May our words be constructive, our tones be respectful, and our interactions be guided by genuine desire to work together for the common good. Let us set aside personal grievances, egos, replacing them with cooperation, mutual respect, so that our conduct here tonight honors the trust our community has placed in us. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Counselor Hall. Can I get roll call, please?
Counselor Hall.
Here.
Counselor Mangini.
Here.
Counselor Matthews.
Here.
Counselor Pisner.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Santinella is absent. Counselor Thomas.
Here.
Counselor Ungary.
Here.
Counselor Zanoni.
Here.
Counselor Allegro.
Here.
Mayor Sakala.
Here.
And Counselor Crisati.
Here.
10 members are present, 1 is absent.
Thank you. Item 4 on the agenda is the fire evacuation announcement. In the event of a fire and emergency, there are 2 means of exits on the council chambers. One is at the rear, so you can exit out the rear doors, walk a safe distance away from the building into the parking lot or into the field. And the other one is to my left, the audience right. You can exit through the side door, go down 1 flight of stairs, out into the parking lot a safe distance from the building. Item 5 is minutes of preceding minutes, regular meeting of June 1st, 2026. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion.
And a second.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions, comments, deletions? All right, all in favor? 10 in favor, none against. Moving along to item 6, special guests. We have our second reevaluation update from, it's going to be from John Wilcox. So come on up.
Good evening, everyone. Unfortunately, our assessor was, I gave her a week off, so she's out this week, and you guys are going to have to suffer through me instead. So it's going to be a real quick summary of what happens in an evaluation. The first, why do we perform revaluations? Connecticut general statutes require revaluations every 5 years. Okay, so it's something that is required. We have to do it, and but in addition to that, it delivers the fair, accurate, equitable assessments according to industry standards. So hopefully, everybody's properties will be valued similarly across using this in the same manner, although they'll obviously have different results, and to bring property assessments in line with market values. Revaluation steps, review properties to obtain accurate property descriptions. Okay, we do this in a number of ways. Vision has visited, Vision Appraisals, that is, has visited 736 properties that have sold in the past 2 years so far. We've mailed data mailers to all residential property owners. And Vision and and assessor staff will be visiting all properties that have building permits outstanding, starting usually in August. 1 and 2 are what we consider the data collection stage, and this is where we make sure that the town's property database, their property cards, and all our records agree with what's actually out there. So these are the various manners that we try to verify that. The next is to conduct real estate market studies to develop formulas for estimating fair market value. What they're doing, Vision is looking at the sales of each property, what are the characteristics of each property that's being sold, and they use that information to apply it to similar properties throughout the town. Okay? So, we use that information from the sale property visits. We will continue to visit new sale properties through September. Preliminary analysis indicates an overall increase of 42%. This is subject to change as new sales occur through the valuation date. Per Vision, this increase is typical of the other projects that they've recently done. And some of the things, I looked online to try and find some property value increases. So first, Heartland was completed in 2025 with the 2025 grand list. Their increase was 45%. Southington, total real estate increase was 53.7%. Then a couple that are Westport had a breakout of residential and commercial. Theirs was 60% and commercial was 16. Fairfield was 63.8 and 16.61 for the commercial. So this is happening all over. Now, please, what I would request is that residents do not try to apply the FY27 mill rate to the new property values, because that's not going to be the tax, okay? One of the things I noticed looking at assessors' web pages all over through the state, one of the first things they said is don't try to calculate using the existing mill rate, because it's not going to be the same. If our grand list goes up that much, our mill rate will come down. So once the data collection phase is complete, usually starting in October, they'll develop final estimates for everybody's properties, okay? Then once they're completed that, in about mid-November, they will be sending each property owner a estimate of what the new assessed values are for the properties. Property owners can request informal reviews to verify the information, present facts that may affect their property value. Those will be scheduled in November and December, okay? There are multiple ways, phone calls. I think they can do Teams meetings. I think they can do them in person, but information on that will come out with those letters. Once those informal notices or meetings are completed, they'll send property owners a final change assessment notice. Okay? If property owners do not agree with the, they can appeal to the Board of Assessment Appeals. Some of the deadlines for that: if the grand list is signed by January 31st of 2027, they must submit their appeal by February 20th, and the meetings will be held in March. If we do an extension, we will have to submit the grand list by February 28th, and everything gets pushed back a month. So you must submit your appeals by March 20th, and the appeals will be heard in April. Finally, if owners still do not agree with Board of Assessment Appeals, they can send it to the Connecticut Superior Court. Lastly, when we are doing all this, we're submitting gathering all the information. We are comparing it to the existing sales. So when we look at our total assessed value as a result of the revaluation, we compare it to the real estate sales that are reported every month by the assessor to Connecticut OPM. We're making sure that those values line up. So that's basically where we're getting the information from. And once complete, all that information is sent to OPM to review and certify for us. So the last revaluation, they certified it. Our actual values were, the goal is 70%. That's the legal amount. But everybody's, you're basing it on sales that have occurred in the past, and there's just differences in everybody's property and all that. They give you about a 10% leeway on either side. Our value was about 68%. So it was actually a little bit lower than the 70% value that it's supposed to be. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, John.
Yep.
Go ahead. Questions?
Thank you, John.
Yep.
Will you be coming back to us
Yes.
as we progress
Yes.
with this?
Yes.
Will be several. Yep.
Okay. I
This
just
is
wanted-
just the second out of a few. Make sure everybody's sees what's coming and everybody knows where we're at.
Right, because the commercial isn't going to start for a little while yet.
We just reached the income and expense forms that they're supposed to submit every year are due June 1st.
Okay.
So we just got them in. They're starting to evaluate the industrial piece.
And all that information and that was on the slides, that's all going to be on the website. Perfect. Big bold letters. Okay. Anyone else? Go ahead, Councilor Hall.
So, excuse me, John, so you're saying you're still visiting through September for residential properties, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Probably through the beginning of September. They won't have time to pull everything together before the October 1st grand list date.
Okay, so nobody after September should expect anybody, knocking on their door, looking at their properties, or we should be done by then?
Yes, however, the assessor's office does go out and look at building permits and properties with building permits and stuff
Still
like that
out.
on an ongoing basis.
Okay.
But the vision appraisal should be done.
Should be done, okay. And then, once we're completed with that, when can residents expect something in the mail with their new assessments?
That should come out mid-November,
Mid-November?
yes.
Okay, all right. So,
They'll have from mid-November through December to, if they have questions on the valuation, to contact Vision, set up a meeting with them to review the valuation of the property.
so I'm trying to get the timeline. We're giving residents, from the time they receive their notification, about 2
Mo-
weeks to react to it,
Do
or
you
a
want to go
month?
back
A
to the
month.
slide?
Sure.
I don't know if it spells it out.
Yeah.
It spells out the date they have to appeal, but I'm trying to get from when they get their notifications.
So they expect to mail them, I think their date, I said mid-November to give a little, but they said November 12th, and that's when their anticipated date of mailing is, okay?
So they're-
So then they have until not the end of November, to the end of December.
Okay.
Finish, so it's about 6 weeks.
Okay,
in
so
total
if it's
to-
mailed out, we know how the post office is, mid-November, it could be a week or so. So basically, we're giving people roughly about a month to react and
Right.
move forward.
I mean, if there were a lot
Okay.
of late ones, I'm sure we'd have a way to deal with that. But we have to get the grand list signed no
Right.
later than February
Right.
28th.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Yep.
So we do have to cut it off at some point in there.
Right.
And you have
Just-
to, and it's the measurement date as of October 1st, okay, 2026. So you gotta go right up to that day.
Right.
So it's,
Okay. So just for people out there watching, pay attention when you get that in the mail, take a look at it right away, and if you have any issues with it, prepare to file your assessment appeal right away. You've got 4 weeks to get it done, basically,
Not
right?
the assessment appeal, no.
Okay.
The assessment appeal has to be filed by the 20th of the month following when we submit the grand list to OPM.
Okay.
So if it's done by January, the date for the grand list is January 31st.
Okay,
Yeah.
They will give you an automatic 1-month extension if you apply for it. So if we did get it ready by January 31st, they would have to submit their appeal request by February 20th.
Okay.
If we went on extension and we submitted by February 28th, they would have to submit it by March 28th. I'll
Okay.
get it. March 20th.
Okay,
So
so
the
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 piece he's
importance-
talking about is going to Vision to ask for a change. They've got that window of 4 weeks to get to.
Before you really get into the formal process.
Right.
You can say, hey, you sent this document out to me. You say I have 60,000 square feet.
Right.
I have 1,400.
Right.
And so you can get those mistakes caught
With
before it gets-
Vision,
yeah.
before the formal process starts, and that's until the end of
Yeah, yeah,
December.
so that's that
the 4
6-week
weeks.
period,
Yep,
approximately.
okay, gotcha.
That's correct,
Thank
yeah.
you, thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Counselor Zanoni.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So my understanding is state statute permits municipalities, if they choose to elect to do this, is to phase in the reassessment over 5 years. And that can only transpire if there is not a decrease in the assessment value of those properties. And with what you're alluding to with the residential and commercial property, both of those are expected to go up. So my question is, has the town of Enfield done that in the past? And is that something that we can consider?
It is something that we can consider. I can tell you that our prior assessor is not a fan of it, but I don't know exactly. I'd have to get into details on it, and I'm not an expert enough on that to actually be able to
The one
answer that question.
prior to the one we have now?
No, actually, Della. basically.
Okay, because he's a prior. Okay,
Sorry, prior.
okay.
No, she's the tax collector now.
All set, Zach?
Yeah, that was my question, and I would encourage that that's something I would want more information on, is to look at, especially it's not like you're financing something and there's a penalty to that. So spreading that burden out, especially given the impact that potential passage of existing referendums could have on taxpayers. So that's something I would want to have a larger conversation to get a little more detail about when that time comes. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I think one of the reasons that we talked about doing several of these presentations is, one, to make sure the public understands where we are in the process and kind of go through the process start to finish every time, but really also to start the discussion up here. And so we kind of start to think about what our role is and what we're going to do with the results of this, because we know it's coming. So gets everybody on the same page, hopefully. All right. Thank you very much, John. Appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, item 7 on the agenda is public communication and petitions. We're starting our new format tonight, so we have a 7A and a 7B. I don't have a specific formal reading that I'm going to do of the rules, but we're going to start with 7A. You get 5 minutes, and this is on agenda item topics only. So we will start you with 5 minutes. You can speak up to on the agenda items. Item B, which is 7B, it's sort of any item, whether it's agenda or non-agenda, it's up to you. So I do have 2 separate sign-in sheets. Make sure you do say your name and your address before you start. Be respectful, refrain from personalities, and you know all of the rest of the rules. George, you could probably recite them better than me at this point. But Mr. Young, you are our friend on 7A. 5 minutes on the agenda items, sir.
Good evening, everyone. George Young, 8 Holly Lane. As a sidelight to what John just spoke about, he could probably give us the Vision website where you could go on there, and if your house has been already assessed, you could find out the value right now. So just as a sidelight. Tonight's agenda is full of many topics and resolutions. When we look at item 13C, it's hard to believe that there is an anticipated underfunding of $354,000 for the Department of Public Works, et cetera, Buildings and Grounds, and RRM Division for the last quarter of the fiscal year. At the end of March, these problems should have been addressed, and is there going to be enough money funded for fiscal 27? It was good to see that the collective bargaining agreements have finally been settled for the next several years and ready to be completed, and hopefully the resolutions get approved tonight. It was interesting that for 2 employees, there were wage adjustments. In the case of the accountant, there was a new job description effective July 1st, 26 to coincide with the wage adjustment. I was surprised that the person exercises no supervision through the finance department and has approval, even though the finance department has approval to hire a part-time accounting person on July 1st, 2026. With all the collective bargaining done by the town, there was no mention of a big benefit that the town has given without anything in return. Of course, I'm talking about the death benefits retroactive to September 1, 2025 for employees killed in the line of duty. This is an excellent benefit and long overdue. A copy of that benefit was enclosed in the insert in the package that we've given tonight. I'll come back for B.
Thank you, Mr. Young. So George was the only one on 7A. Tom, you want to come up on 7A? Feel free. Come on up. I'll add you to the list, sir.
Hi, Tom Cremona, 19 Tyler Road. I have a couple comments only on Mr. Wilcox's presentations. And 2 things. First of all, I just want to clarify one thing. There was a question that was asked about how long there's still going to be some visits to properties. I'm also curious if we could get an answer to, in our neighborhood, we've had drive-bys. So cars from this firm have been driving through the neighborhood. And it's interesting. It's just an interesting behavior that they'll occasionally get out of the car and they'll be looking in your backyard. It's just kind of unusual. And I wonder if that's going to continue. So if that could get clarified the next time there's an update, those drive-bys continue through September as well. But here's the big one. I'm trying to stay really close to this issue because, it has the potential to be huge. And in the presentation tonight, what I was really hoping to hear was something a little different about what they've seen so far. In the slide, the words that were used was, so far, we've seen an overall increase of 42%. That's what was on the slide. I think what's really important is that I would imagine that represents the overall increase of every property they've looked at. And I'm afraid it might be hiding something, not purposely, but it might be hiding a trend that certain parts of town might be 80% and some might be 20%, and then you average it to 40. And I think if we know that now, if we see that trend now, I think that's something that would be appropriate to share with the public. So my request is, I'm not asking for it tonight, but whenever the next update is, as opposed to overall, I don't even know if that means average, median, mean. I don't know what that means. And so clarity on what the 42% is, and if you have it, information about, I don't know what criteria you would use, district, neighborhood, I don't know, something like that. But if there is a significant trend emerging, which I think we're afraid that might be true, that property values in certain parts of town may be going up much faster than other parts of town. If we know that and we see it now, it would be nice to know that earlier rather than later, so it's not a surprise. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we're going to move on to 7B, which is any topic, not just limited to agenda items. I'm going to go in order of who signed up first. So, Mr. Young, come on up. You get another 5 minutes, sir.
George Young, 8 Holly Lane. I'm always harping on the fact that the town is late with the financial reporting of year-end results. Why am I so concerned? I find many people are very naive about what is really possible when reports are not given timely and management and the council are not seeing the picture or asking any questions. Are bills approved properly and paid to the correct vendors? You should not expect the outside auditors to find these mistakes to fund diversions. I would like to suggest that all council members and management watch a movie on Prime Television. I'm going to give you the name of it, and I hope you would watch it. It's called All the Queen's Horses. This is a case of a trusted municipal employee. her name was Rita Crunwell, who over a period of 20 years embezzled $20 million. That happens to be America's largest municipal fraud for municipal people. This all took place in a small town in Illinois. The town is Dixon, in case you needed to know that. And she used a great deal of those funds for her show horses. It happened in 2011, and she is still serving time with a release in the next few years. You may not recognize the name of the bank in the lawsuit, but you will recognize the name of the CPA auditors. So I'll leave you with that little mystery, but you really should watch that movie. It's on Prime.
Thank you, George. Mr. Krusell.
I'm going to switch chairs because if I sit in this one, I'll never get up. Walter J. Krusell, 21 Charlie Road, Chairman Emeritus of the Board of Ed and the last 2 terms chairman that served on the board. I was at the Board of Ed meeting this past Tuesday, and there was a plethora of flags, and I was expecting the same thing tonight, but thank God there isn't. So, but I'm just going to repeat again, there are 3 pride flags in this room as we speak. The first one, a group of settlers came to this part of the country back in 1636 and started the Connecticut colony. The next one, some of those settlers settled in this area in 1677 and started Enfield. Incorporated it in 1683, and then Connecticut annexed it in 1749. And then we have the one over on the left here that started 12 scores and a decade ago, that the 13 colonies got together and made our country that we are celebrating the 250th anniversary this year. Without these 3 flags, you don't have the other flags. Nowhere in the world you have the other flags without these 3. So these 3 are the pride flags, pride of state or colony at the time, but state, pride of town, and especially pride of country. And then I had a little show and tell, so I might as well start it again. Our whole world is based on 2 genders. Without these 2 genders, that doesn't work. The sound system you're talking into, without the 2 genders, they don't work. You can't have 3 genders. You can't have 4 genders. There's only 2. The whole world is based on 2 genders. It's that simple. It's that simple. And I should and a point of order for the water pollution control meeting you had, where you had to vote on the minutes that 5 members voted in favor and 5 members voted abstain. That motion should have passed because there's no no's in there. But that's just a point of order. That's how we always did it. The abstains didn't count as a no. It should have passed. But again, just a point of order. And my last thing is I had a saying the last time you were in charge, a prayer that was answered, so I may have to start it again. God help Enfield, Connecticut. But God bless the United States of America. And now I'm going to go home because I have to get up at 4:30 in the morning to raise money to pay the taxes that we just got increased. So, good night.
Thank you, Walter. Ms. Davis, you're up.
Lori Davis, 30 Maple Ave. Some of you might recognize me. I was here almost to this day a year ago, looking for some signs because there's a lot of wrong way drivers in my area. And guess how many signs we got? None. None. So I've been a resident of Enfield for about 4 years now. The restaurant in question that is across the street from my home has been there for about 2 years. And almost daily, there is a wrong way driver. This is terrible. For the safety of the community, the roads are small. There's not a lot of parking, so people are parking in the streets, which makes it even more congested. Now, you guys want businesses and you want all this fun stuff, great. But the residents, if you're gonna put them there, would love to be safe when that building is there. Daily, I have videos, I have cameras on my house, and I can show you. If you want the email, I'll give you my email and I'll send you every video. Almost daily, this happens. So, one of your trucks pulled up at the restaurant. It's delicious, by the way. You should all go visit it. Your new Assistant Director of Public Works, Mr. Donahue, I spoke with him. He said they have the signs. They can put them up tomorrow. Money is not the problem. If you remember last time, everybody kept saying, oh yeah, it's getting congested down there, we should do something. I've had that email told to me several times. Oh, we should do something. And again, your Public Works guy agrees. We need to put those signs up. And those signs still aren't there. 3 signs. We need a do not enter sign, a one-way sign, and a no outlet sign. That's all we need. 3 signs. And if money's not the issue, what is the issue? Everybody is in agreement that there is a problem that needs to be solved. The residents are concerned. We're tired of it. We don't want to come down Maple Ave and get hit head on by a wrong way driver. 3 signs, that's all it's going to take. And I've been confirmed that money is not the issue. They have the signs at the shop and can be put up tomorrow. So what's the problem? It's been a year. Why aren't the signs put up? This is going to save a lot of people, aggravation, excess traffic, potential accidents. Where's the signs? Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Anyone else who did not sign up want to speak on a topic that is either on or off the agenda? All right, public communications A and B is now closed. On to councilor communications and petitions. Councilor Crisati, I can start with you tonight if you have anything.
Yeah, good evening. Just a couple of things. First of all, through the mayor to the town manager, this is in regard to Summer Street. And, you know, once again, residents are continuing to complain with the construction that's going on there, the sidewalks on both sides. And they're concerned about if somebody's parking on the street, that only one vehicle can get down the street, or if there's multiple cars that are parking there, that there's a lot of congestion through that street, and it's very difficult. I happened to go down there a couple of days ago, and one of the residents told me that their son's car was parked outside. They were visiting, and a car came by and clipped the side mirror. Not damaged window, didn't damage it completely, but did hit it. They didn't call and complain or anything. They called me and said, this is what's taking place. So it is kind of dangerous down there. And then they showed me the tree that's in the road where the sidewalk goes around the tree. The actual distance of the road is, you'll lose like 10, I don't know how many feet, maybe 5 feet, additional 5 feet, because the tree is there and everything's moved around the tree. So I am a little concerned about that. And then probably the other concern that they have is that big tractor trailer that's parked at the end of Summer Street, which goes to cemetery. The corner lot, there's a cemetery entrance, and there's a 16-wheeler parked there, and they are concerned about that, and they just want to make sure or do something about it. They did give me an address or possibly of where this person does live. I will give that to you later, but I wanted to bring this to your attention because people are concerned. And then there's also one other complaint that I'm getting is we have some site where the sidewalks are, they have a walkway that goes up into their house. Some people have a new walkway, like 3 different sections that go right up to their front steps, and other people only got one rectangular area replaced. So there's a big inconsistency why one neighbor has their whole walkway replaced and only their other neighbor only has one replaced. So there are some major complaints. If we could just take a look at that, I'd appreciate it. That's all I really have in regard to Summer Street. But that tractor trailer that does parked over there, we have to do something about that. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Crissetti. We can go down the line. Councilor Mangini?
Thank you. Just a couple of things. Congratulations to all of the graduates. It was a beautiful ceremony, and I felt very honored that I've known many of these young people from when they were younger, and the weather held out, which was great. And I just wanted to throw that out there. Congratulations. All of you graduates did a super job. Be very proud of yourselves. And we had a nice celebration for Kay Talarita. We celebrated her great room dedication. Councilor Crissetti, Allegro, and Ungar and I were present, and we enjoyed the beautiful ceremony. The Talarita family, I believe, was very pleased with it as well. I know Kay was beaming, as she should be, and it was much overdue. I do just want to mention there's 2 events coming up, and one of them, I may not be saying this correctly, but it is Juneteenth. It's Kumba Kigozi Black Legacy Arts and Culture. They're inviting us to join to honor the freedom, unity, culture, and community at the Enfield Historical Society on Juneteenth, which is June 19th, between the hours of 4 and 7 p.m. So if anyone can attend, it would be greatly appreciated. I know I'm making a point to attend to honor and celebrate. And then we also have the Juneteenth celebration on Saturday at the Polish Home, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that starts at 2, ends at 7, somewhere in that time period. So I just want to bring people's attention to these 2 important events that are happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mangini. Councilor Pisner, go ahead.
So first and foremost, I'd like to say congratulations to the class of 2026. It was a beautiful night. We didn't get rained on. The graduates were all dry. It was wonderful. And it was a terrific night. And I do also want to say I wish all our students and our staff a very healthy, happy, and fun summer vacation. George, it's always a pleasure. Tom, great job. I did not actually think of that point, but when you were sitting up here, I leaned over to Councilor Hall and went, "It's a really good point." So I always look forward to what you have to say when you come up. Ms. Davis, if I'm not mistaken, I do believe that was brought up at the last council meeting. I do believe Councilor Santinella did ask our town manager as to what was happening down there. So hopefully we do get that resolved for you. I have another note. I don't know if people have been following, but recently our North Thompsonville Fire Department donated a fire truck to Searsman, Maine. And I kind of saw the article and thought nothing of it. And then I was reached out to by a former high school classmate, Mike Dunny, who grew up on Pearl Street across from used to be St. Joe's, now St. Bernard's School. And he reached out to me because he lives in the neighboring town of Freedom, Maine, with a population of 650 people. And Mike said to me, and I'm getting goosebumps as I say this, he said to me, Marie, I've never been so proud of the town that I came from. He said, they are my neighboring town. It's the town that we depend on because we only have volunteer firefighters. And he said, the great act of kindness that came from his hometown is something he will never forget. And he wanted me to express his thanks to our town for this gracious, wonderful gift. He also asked me to say, to please keep the town in our prayers and our thoughts, because just today, the assistant chief passed away from his injuries from this fire. So for those watching who don't know, there was a horrible explosion that happened in the neighboring town there, in a lumber yard. And our town stepped up and we gave them a fire truck. So these are the kind of moments that makes me proud to sit up here and say I represent this town, because I know we get a lot of dissing, but I've said it before and I'll say it again, Enfield comes through. When people need us, we are there. And this just proves. So on behalf of the people in Seaman, Maine, and the neighboring towns that depend on that fire department, a huge thank you from a former native Enfield who now lives there. So please keep them in your thoughts and your prayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. Councilor Hall, anything tonight?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, to Mr. Cremona's point really well made. I think to answer that, the best, what they'll be doing is looking at locations. So to your point, your area of town will definitely go up higher than another area of town. So unfortunately, we're probably at the top run on revalves coming out. So it might be helpful to have those areas of town very specifically categorized for percentages. My question, it goes to kind of a point that George made, and maybe John can answer through the town manager's report. When might those assessments be changed on the vision appraisal website? Because we do have people accessing those all the time. So are they inputting them as they're doing them, or are they going to be batched and put in all under one batch? So maybe John can answer that through the town manager. That is an easy link. It's Vision Appraisal. You can go up and look at your values once they're done. And through the mayor to the town manager, maybe you can address the signs for Ms. Davis under manager's report. So if you want to hang around for a few minutes after we're all done, maybe the town manager might have some answers for you. Congratulations to all the graduates this year. It's the first year I've missed in many years. I was away for a much-needed vacation with some friends, so this year I was not there. But I was there in spirit, and I'm sorry I missed it, but congratulations to all the 2026 graduates. Matt, through the mayor to the town manager, thank you for Powder Hollow. I noticed they did some patching, big, large patching. I wish it was a continuous patching all the way, but I'm going to take what I could get, and at least we're not taking tires out as we're going through the hollow. To that point, I've been watching a lot of Facebook feedback on people that have lost tires on Hazard Avenue because of the raised sewage drains. There is a way to file a claim with the state of Connecticut. I have that on my Facebook post. There's a link there. You can look up what you need to do to get some reimbursement on those lost tires, and I know there were quite a few. So check that out, and if you don't find it, just email me. I'll be happy to share the link with you. And I believe that is it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Angire, anything from you tonight?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Some residents have been asking that since the yard waste, when we have a holiday and the yard waste is not being picked up, they want to know the following week when it is resumed if they can put more than 2 barrels out. And I received an email from Matt. So through the mayor to the town manager, can they put more than 2 barrels out? Maybe you can answer that in your follow-up. Also, congratulations to all the Enfield High graduates. It was a beautiful night. The rain held off, and it actually turned into the perfect weather. It was just spectacular, so congratulations. And we have some moms up here that graduated their children, so congratulations to you, too. We had a great turnout last week at the band shell when the concert series started, and we had a good night. And tomorrow night, it's going to be another follow-up with, I believe it's Trailer Trash tomorrow night, so that should be fun. So inviting all the residents to come on out. And Lori, I remember you coming a year ago discussing this, and it seemed like a simple fix. Just put some signs out and before anything happens. So hopefully we can address that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Allegro, anything tonight?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Sakala. Number one, wait a minute, okay. Just a reminder that it's that time of year again. The Enfield Community Market, formerly known as the Enfield Farmers Market, will be held on the town green this year, every Sunday from 10 to 2 p.m. The second thing is, tomorrow is the last day of school in Enfield. And for some of us grandparents who put our grandchildren on the bus every morning, we get a break. But also, if families are looking for something for their children to do, the Enfield Recreation Department is offering some wonderful programs. But in particular, I wanted to mention that there's 2 classes that they're offering. A babysitting class, which a lot of teenagers are looking to do that for extra money, but they need to go to the class. But also a home alone safety class, which I think is very important as well. So I wanted to bring those 2 classes up. But all the other programs, there's swimming classes, so many. Residents can check out the website at enfieldrec.com for all the details. And that's it. Mayor, thank you.
Anything, Councilor Matthews?
Thank you, Mayor. And yes, Councilor Allegro, those recreation classes are great. My son took the babysitting class and got a little certificate and CPR training. It was excellent. So I definitely do recommend that one. Also, there is a community health and wellness fair that will be going on June 19th. This is headed up, it's an initiative by Fred Hall at the health department, who is trying to look into how to do more for our unhoused people. This will hopefully be the first in a series of wellness fairs that we do. This will actually be in the health department's parking lot. It's an initiative with Enfield Loaves and Fishes and Enfield Food Shelf. Again, that's Friday, June 19th. That'll be 12:30 to 3. Power in a Shower will be there, which is a mobile personal hygiene unit that's based out of New York, but he travels around to different towns in Connecticut so that people have access to showers who don't normally have them. There will be wellness checks. There will be hygiene and Narcan kits, and other community partners that deal with food insecurity, housing, and safety will also be there to talk to residents and people in need. This career fair is, or this wellness fair is open to everyone. It is also a kickoff to our 3rd annual Pathways to Stability initiative, which is comprised of many people that are in the human services field in the community. This one it's usually held on the town green. This year we're going to be holding it at Sunny's Place as a fundraiser. So that will be on July 25th, and more information about tickets will be available soon on social media, through our website, and via a press release. And that is all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Thomas, anything tonight?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Quick shout out to class of 26. I was a year late, but I just want to say a quick shout out to class of 25. My daughter graduated in 25. Just wanted to shout that out. Just another thing, I was at a Step Up Day, I believe they're calling it now, 5th grade graduation at Prudence Crandall. That's the class of 2033, which made me feel super old. But a lot of activities with schools and kids, and congratulations to all of them. Thanks. That's it.
Thank you. Councillor Zanoni.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A few things. So first, I know that the residents who are in the audience tonight had most of their questions addressed. Just if we could get a clarification from the mayor to the town manager about the 42%. I know Mr. Young had asked what the aggregate of that was, if it was a mean or median. So just the method of how we came to that number. To Mr. Krusell, it just something had popped in my mind because I remember when we had a conversation about the flag policy. The town of Enfield does not have a flag, and so that's not our flag. And I know I had mentioned this a year ago, and it's convenient because it's our 250th anniversary, and perhaps it's a conversation we can hand off to Culture and Arts, is designing a town flag, because we do not have one, and I think that's something that could be accomplished by the end of the year. So maybe if that could be, some of our Culture and Arts liaisons could take that back and think about a potential medium that we could accomplish that. I think that would be a great time to do that, is this year, so we can actually have a flag. I don't really understand the adapter comment. I mean, I'm traveling for 28 days, and I have to buy 3 different adapters, so I don't know why we're making that reference. It doesn't seem to make sense to me, but that's that. I mean, I'm always a believer in respects to how people live their lives, is that the government shouldn't play a role in it. And quite frankly, I remember when I used to be a member of the Republican Party 10 years ago, that's what they stood for, and things have changed a little bit since then, which is unfortunate. All right, in regards to the annex, I know that the chairman of the Public Works Committee is not here this evening, but I did tell him that I would be sharing my perspective on some things regarding the annex. And maybe the town manager, if he wanted to add anything during his report, can. Here's the reality. I think what we cannot have is a situation like the annex turf, where a situation comes before us and we're forced to act because of an imminent failure. We have to be proactive. And the reality is that the infrastructure at the annex facility is going to fail. It's not a question of if it will fail, it's a question of when it will fail. And the repairs necessary to that facility for HVAC alone is well in excess of what the town can spend within the confines of our charter without going to referendum. There's no way we're getting it on referendum this November. So we have to make a decision about whether a facility should remain open that we know could result in a catastrophic failure in regards to specific infrastructure and systems in that building within the next year, specifically the winter. And so we have to have a conversation about that. And I want the residents to not be surprised over the coming weeks when that conversation may result in decisions that people aren't inherently pleased with. We have had referendums on improving facilities, and quite frankly, I think outside of roofs, outside of roads, and maybe it's a coin toss with schools, they get voted down. So I am not going to put all my eggs in the basket of, oh, we can just put it on referendum next year, it'll get passed. We can have that conversation. But we have to act and live in the means that we are right now. And that building cannot sustain itself through next year. I just do not believe that to be the case. And I will extend to Councilor Pisner or the town manager if they have a differing opinion. That's my opinion based on the information I've received, that it is not sustainable. And I want us to be proactive with the relocation of the services and the programs that are provided in that building to other town facilities in a way that is methodical, that is proactive, and allows us to make informed decisions and have enough time to do that before the building fails and we have to make the decisions last minute, which is not going to serve anybody well. It just isn't. If you know your car's transmission is about to fail, you don't say, well, I'm just going to wait. You make a decision, you either buy a new car, and if you don't have money to buy a new car, you figure out what you can do. If you need to rent a car or borrow a car, you don't just keep driving it until something fails when you're on your way to work. That's irresponsible. And I'm tired of the town being irresponsible. Being responsible is recognizing that building within our finances cannot stay open long term, or something will fail and we will have to rush to fix it. So I just want people to be mindful of that. And I think it's also incredibly important to know we have been, just as I said in regards to our fields, we have been very gifted to have the amount of square footage that we have in the town of Enfield for a lot of extracurricular programs, all of which I want to see sustain well beyond where they are now. But that is a privilege that many other communities don't have. And it's a privilege because it's in a building that hasn't received maintenance, but also has systems that are failing that need to be replaced regardless of how well we maintain them. And we don't have the means at this time within the confines of our charter to fix it by winter. So keep that in perspective when decisions are going to have to be made in probably the coming weeks and months regarding that. In regards to the schools, I don't want to instill panic, but we have had a situation in our elementary schools where we have had some critical infrastructure fail recently. That is a problem. And it is in the six figures, the mid six figures, to fix it across our buildings, and we are taking the proactive steps to make sure those systems are not going to fail or put anyone in danger. But it's something to keep in mind that when you look at a building, you say, oh, yeah, it's great, it has brick walls, it has the whiteboard, it looks all well and good. The internals of these buildings are failing. And you may not see that when you drop your kid off at school every day. But people need to be mindful of that when we're thinking about the improvements we need to make in our buildings, because there's infrastructure that's going to cost us a lot of money out of pocket that needs to get fixed, regardless of what happens in November. So those are just some things from Public Works that I think are important for the public to know about. That is all I have, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, number 9, town manager report.
Hold on 1 second.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Councilor Crissati.
Yeah, just actually 2 comments. Number 1, I do want to extend my congratulations to the class of 2026. I did fail to recognize that. And comment to Councilor Zanoni in regard to the annex. I totally disagree with what he's stating. Some of the information that he is stating is correct in terms of infrastructure, but once again, I believe June 22nd, there's going to be a tour of the building, and I think everybody really needs to know how that building is being utilized. It's very easy to say get rid of the building and stop it because we can't afford to fix it. I totally disagree with what you're saying. Like you said, this is going to be a topic of conversation, and regardless, one thing that I am going to be really strong in stating that you have a recreation department, you have a pool down there, you have teams, you have, well, I'm just going to leave it at that. There is a lot. And if it's going to affect children, I am not in favor of even having a discussion about it. Okay, and I'm going to leave it at that. This is going to be a real hot topic. So, people, residents, June 22nd, 5 o'clock at the annex. There will be a tour of the building. Come on down.
Can I say something?
Sure.
So, as a member of the DPW committee, along with Councilor Zanoni and Deputy Mayor Santinella, I didn't realize that that was going to be a public meeting. I didn't realize that. At my request, I did say that I wanted the fire marshal there. You know what? I agree, Councilor Crisati. This is going to be a hot topic. But I think the tour has been set up for the counselors to go in. We had a tour last year of what was in that building. I think we are all well aware of how that building is being used and what is in that building. It's the infrastructure now that we are concerned about and the maintenance of that building. And I think there may be things that are out of our control, and that's why I asked for the fire marshal to be there, because that will be the determining factor. And the only thing, and I agree with Councilor Zanoni, is we are just trying to be proactive. Mr. Daig was at our last meeting, and he was very open and receptive and said, these are what we're going to have to do. We don't want surprises. We don't want to have to say to them at the last minute, scurry, go find where these people have to go. We don't want that. So let's go in, let's be open-minded, let's take a look at it. I had said, I don't want to see recreation go. I don't want to see the pool go. I don't want to see the gym go. I don't. But at the same time, I don't want to see somebody in that building get hurt or them come in at the last minute and say, it's failed, we got to close it, and you guys got to find a spot in a day or a week. So we are just trying to get all of us on board to have an open conversation. That's what this tour is about, is for us to go in and have an open conversation with the right people to answer the questions. No one's saying shut the doors tomorrow, but we're just trying to be proactive. So again, and Mayor, to the town manager, is this a public invitation? Because I didn't think it was a public invitation.
I mean, I think we can go to your town manager report if that's fine, and that can be sort of, if that's.
I'm good with it.
Okay, then, yeah, let's go to the town manager report, and whatever information you have, I actually don't know that you're gonna have all of the information on some of the revaluation answers, but floor
Good
is
evening.
yours, sir. Good evening.
Evening.
So just kind of pick up on the annex. So the intention behind the tour of the annex isn't to show you, hey, this room has stuff from the town clerk, or this has something from the health department, because I think that's been done in the past. What this is taking you into some of the small spaces that holds a critical infrastructure that really is going to be key to the future of the building short term. We all know that long term, if we're going to occupy it, we have to replace the control systems that control the HVAC. We have to replace all the HVAC systems. There's going to be electrical work. There's a lot of work that's in the tens of millions of dollars potentially that the town's facing. And if you're going to do that, you have to figure out what the use of that building is going to be as well, because does it make sense to have a glorified storage facility and spending all that money? But what we're really talking about is the short-term piece. And I think the concern that I have with this is, there is work that we could easily bring to you, and we probably will following this, that's, $100,000, couple $100,000 that address the issues that we know today. The leaking of the systems, right? But it doesn't fix anything. It takes care of problems we know of right now. And the concern is that when we get under pressure with the heat fully on in December, that if it goes off, we'd be coming to you again, but it's going to be maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars. And council makes that decision that says, no, we're not going to spend the money, close it. Then we have to relocate everything. And you know, John Dagg from the school, you know, kind of walked us through what they need to know, because they have things that, you know, granted, one program won't be there come September 1st when it opens up, but they're still going to be having programming in that facility. And they want to know, do we need to start planning for contingencies? Or, you know, I don't think they want to even talk about contingencies. If we can't guarantee that they're going to be able to maintain their operations in there, they're going to find other locations for their operations, right? And so this is designed really for the short term, the next year, and saying, here's what the risks are. Are you willing to accept those risks, or do you want to do something different? Again, I think council members are correct that have spoken already in this, is that you know, we're not talking about more than $800,000 because that's a referendum project. So we're talking about a short term, getting through this winter. Can we do it, and what are the risks? Again, the tour, you know, because we're going to have the majority of council, is a public meeting. You know, can the public come? It's a public meeting. You know, I don't know necessarily if we can fit 100 people going through that facility with us, but we'll try to do the best we can. But the intent is to see the infrastructure and what the issues are, so you can put context to what we're talking about when we say, okay, we need $200,000 just to fix this. Here's what this is, right? I mean, that's what the intent is. But you know, there is no magical bullet for this one. You know, it's going to take time, and you know, maybe we get lucky and we get SIF funding for it. You know, we applied, and then you know, things make us happy. But again, there's a lot of tough decisions there, and what my intention is to start that conversation. And it may take a year to get to the final end of that conversation, but we have to start it, and we have to start it now. And so that's what the intent of that is. That address all the annex issues?
Yep.
Sure. You added a lot to my list tonight. So we'll start with some of the easy things. I sent out earlier today the announcement about the ribbon cutting that's going to happen at Martin Broward on Wednesday, June 17th. If you can make it, I would recommend. Incredible facility. You know, that company, sometimes it's very quietly growing, but it is growing, and it's continually growing, and we like that. And this is just an extension of that growth. And I think if you can make it to that, they would appreciate, you know, representatives from the town being there. So if you can, please do that. We talked about the tour of the annex next week. On Monday, want to remind that we are scheduling a public or a special meeting on Tuesday. That's to go over the charter decisions there. Some good news. We'll get into the good news portion of my report. We have gotten preliminary information. I think it's going to be officially announced tomorrow maybe, but we did receive the $250,000 grant for the Barnes boat launch that we put in for. If you remember, it's really a $500,000 project, so we as the town are going to be putting in an additional $250,000, which is going to be coming from TIF funding to do that project. So that's again an incredible thing going on. Although there isn't a design yet, part of that money will be spent on the design of what happened, so you'll be a part of that as well. But I think the official announcement is happening tomorrow, hopefully. And the last piece of the things I was planning on talking about before I get to my update that I wanted to do was that 600 Enfield Street. This has been an issue for a long time. So I don't know if you've been down by there, but they have started demolition of that finally. So we are encouraged. Yes. Yes. That's the gas station car wash. You know where this big yellow. No. Yeah, down here, 600 Enfield Street. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's what when I was told that it was started, I did want to know exactly what that meant. But okay, so the other thing was I'm going to do the roads update. I also was going to go to Steve to talk a little bit about the job descriptions. We'll get to that. So this is kind of the list that you kind of gave me. First, regarding the sign. So that was a topic of the discussion. I think it would have been somewhere towards the end of the last council tenure that public safety talked about doing something with those signs. At the conclusion of the discussion, there really wasn't any direction given for the staff to go do something. So choices are you can send it back to public safety again and get a conclusion to that, or you can make a decision tonight and say, Matt, get the signs up, and we'll put signs up. But
Right.
we
Do we
need,
have the signs?
we make the signs, so
So
I,
I would assume you probably have consensus to put the signs up.
So
if we can.
yeah, so the only limitation on that is, we're probably, unless they allow us, we're probably not going to be able to put signs coming out of the property, right? Because that's
Right,
their
it can't
property.
be on their property.
So we would probably do it across the street, so when you're coming out, you'd see, the sign there. So just understand that
Right.
there's going to be some limitations how we do that.
When's the next public safety subcommittee meeting?
It's going to be next month, July.
In July?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, again,
I mean, I would say it sounds like you have consensus, right? To put them up as you can, if you can. If you run into a problem, my thought would be then just refer it back to the DPW subcommittee, get it on that July agenda, and they can make the final decisions. If there's issues with placement,
Right.
things like that. If that becomes an issue, put that on the public safety agenda. I'm sorry, DPW. Which one is
it? It was
it?
discussed at public
I
safety.
think it was public safety,
Public
yeah,
safety.
not DPW, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be what my suggestion would be, and it looks like you have consensus to do that.
Through the mayor to town manager, I would suggest maybe traffic from the police department take the key lead on where those signs are placed, because it does come under public safety.
It is, yeah, I think that's exactly why they.
Actually, the traffic
safety.
officer had made recommendations for that.
Okay, perfect.
But again, there just wasn't, of the committee, there wasn't a consensus. There was a lot of different ideas that came up.
Okay. That's my only comment. I'm all for the signs. They
Sergeant Myers already looked at it.
Sergeant Myers should be the one that makes the decision. Thanks.
Okay. We will do that then. Summer Street, it's designed and it's under construction. So what's out there is not going to change without spending a lot of money, right? And so we did have a little bit of a conversation in the DPW subcommittee about this. Yeah, and so understand that the amount of pavement that was there before is the same amount of pavement that's there today, right? One of the big differences, though, is they put curbs in. And I think, I don't have firsthand knowledge of this, but this is what I was being told, so I'll repeat that, assuming that it's accurate, is that, very little has changed except for the curbs. And that now prevents people that when they park there, they were able to park into the tree belt, right? And so they weren't fully on the asphalt. And so it does appear, rightfully so, because they can't do that anymore without mounting the curb, So it's going to narrow down the travel lane. That is true. However, it's, again, designed from the no parking sides that still provide a single lane of travel. There's going to be those times when it's a little bit more congested, where someone, like in many of our streets, is going to have to wait for someone to pass and then be able to proceed. So it isn't really that much different than a number of our streets, as you can guess, but it is different for the residents down there. So again, we'll keep watch of it, and you know, if it comes back that you know, the solution is no parking on the street, then that will be talked about. Which we would have that conversation
I
first
would
there
say,
with some, because you know, where it's going to be felt is going to be in complaints that go to the police department or accidents that happen and the police department's aware of, and they'll say, hey, I'm sorry, we have an issue, you need to do something. So we will be watching it, but it's a change, but it really isn't that drastic of a change. It's just, again, those curbs change how people can park off the road that allows better traffic flow. The positive, again, is, you know, once the traffic pattern is understood, it will calm traffic down a little bit, so you're not going to have speeding. But the trade-off is that, you know, people do need to be respectful that the road's a little bit narrower. There are kids, there are people, so you can't drive crazy on those streets. And in any of our streets, you shouldn't be doing that. At any minute, someone could be darting out from a parked car, so you need to be respectful from that perspective. So. The 42%, I can get you a better answer on that, but I'm just going to say right now, here's what my understanding of that is. And so my understanding of the 42% is looking at it statistically from all the sales that have happened inside the town, not looking at any particular area. It looks like our values are up 42% for residential. Again, where Vision may be further along in doing analysis that we're asking for, which are very good things, because, you know, they're asking, you know, you're asking the same questions that we ask, because we need to know, you know, how development's happening, you know, because we need to be able to project, for instance, like the TIF areas, right? You know, we need to understand, is what, or has what we've done made an impact? You know, are we seeing more growth in that area? Because that's an area, you know, within the TIF district we have right now, that it hasn't grown. And we knew that way back when I was here the last time. And we actually did a presentation that showed all the other areas of the town, except for Thompsonville, are growing, but Thompsonville wasn't. So, I mean, it's kind of something that we understood, but there will be that data that supports that, you know, again, will be a part of, I guess, strategy going forward of what we need to do. But, you know, there's not more information that we have today that, you know, can enlighten anybody on it. Will there be that information? Yes. Is it possible the Vision already has a lot of that information? Yes. But in terms of what they provided to us, they don't have that. And I checked real quick. Vision isn't updated with any, or at least the ones I checked, with any of the new numbers yet. My guess, we will ask the question, my guess is that they're going to do a batch, you know, once they have it set, then they'll do the upload of everything probably prior to sending out. I mean, it would make, to me, logically, October 1 in that time frame is when that batch upload would happen to get prepared for the mailers to go out to everybody in November. So that's probably the time frame that will happen in terms of the public-facing information. But we'll ask that question to get a better understanding and get that back to you. Holidays, so the yard waste pickup at the yard. So the question that came in, and if you haven't had a chance to look at your emails, there was a resident that talked about a disruption in this week's yard waste, but kind of made the overture saying that it's not just for this week, but also in the future. This week is again, if you saw my response back, is, there is a normal schedule this week, so there's no disruption. Friday, yard waste will be collected. He did come back to me, and I don't think you guys were copied on that one, and asked me about, well, what about July 3rd, and what about, and in my response back, it was, well, we can talk to Public Works, or excuse me, the DPW subcommittee about how we handle that. I don't know how it was handled. He had mentioned that we have done that in the past. Okay, I don't remember it when I was here that we did that, but.
I think it was the big holidays, but you guys can talk about that in DPW.
Yeah, and so, I'm not prepared to say, hey, we'll just do it, because I think,
Yeah.
if you know me, I like to know what I'm doing before I do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to know what that means. And if it's, the concern I have with that is it slows down the collection. And so now all of a sudden we're eating more overtime, and we don't get done on Friday what we would have gotten done. So it goes into Saturday, which again is more overtime. And if that's a direction of council, that's fine, but I want you to know what you're doing before you say, Matt, do that. So
Yeah,
that's why
I
I
think
was
you guys can
thinking
talk
send
about
that
that
to
again in
DPW and
DPW subcommittee, but
probably not going to have an answer for the next holiday, but maybe the next holiday we might have an answer.
I think it was the biggies, like July 4th, Christmas, and Thanksgiving. I don't know. I don't know that there was a third, maybe Memorial Day, but I don't
think
remember.
if there is, and again, I just haven't had a chance to look at that in the past. If it's something that we've done in the past and council's been willing to do that, I don't have any problem, but I just don't want to, whole cloth come up with something and say, hey, here's, $15,000 more we're spending, when, we'd rather not spend $15,000 without council saying spend $15,000. Real quick, if Steve can just talk briefly about those position descriptions.
Thank you, Matt. Just really quickly, because it is on the consent agenda, but we have 3 job descriptions. They are all cost neutral to the town. The first 2 are a natural byproduct of the recently adopted budget, where we're basically melding 2 half-time positions into one, and we expanded the senior center program specialist into a full-time position. The last one, the teacher's aide, the qualifications are a bit onerous right now for it, and it's depriving us of finding qualified candidates, hurting our ratios. We are not lowering the standard below the NIAC standard or the state standard, but we are removing the associate's degree, which is depriving us of some otherwise good candidates. So that's that for the job descriptions, and thank you, Councilor Ungar, for mentioning about trailer trash coming tomorrow night. I'm going to use this opportunity to shamelessly promote our sponsors, RDO Lee Dodge, Adam Stanley Enterprises, and USA Waste and Recycling. If it wasn't for them, we'd be paying for these concerts, and we're paying at $0. So come out tomorrow. It's going to be a beautiful night. Get your lunch here, put your toes in the grass, and listen to some good trailer trash. It's one of our best concerts we ever promote. Thanks.
And then finally, as promised, we have an update on the road construction for the upcoming summer. Again, this isn't much different than what you saw in December when we did this last, so I'll go through it quickly. Ridge Road, Holly Lane, Summer Street, you can read them, are all under construction this summer. We have 3 streets listed there that are in design. However, we're not sure if there's going to be enough funding available for construction on these in 2027. I know everyone's working behind the scenes trying to get the answer to that question. We just don't have the answer as of today. But those are under design, and we will have a design completed on them sometime this year. Again, real quick, I updated got the updated numbers from DPW. You can see that in 2026, thus far, we're spending committed $1.7 million in those different groupings, and to date, we're somewhere a little bit north of $22 million in spent. So we're getting very close to what the final referendum number is, and that's why we're concerned about those last few streets. Some non-road expenditures I just want you to be aware of. We are in the budget. We had money set aside for the design for the Abbey Road sidewalk gap closure. Again, not necessarily roads, but it affects roads and safety out in that area. We also put money aside for design for the Summers Road culvert. Again, both of these are probably going to be in construction in 2027, most likely, but we'll see. And both of those are lot SIP money that we received funding for. And lastly, our crack seal program, we do have a little bit over $120,000 in CIP for this. We've been having some difficulty getting a good contractor. We use the bid that Krog puts out, and the last contractor was not, well, we decided not to use them, yes. And lastly, Councillor Hall beat me to it. This was something that the DPW director and I had started talking about. The road issues are out there, and we've been spending a lot of time and effort going out there on a fairly regular basis, throwing asphalt into holes that really were not going to be satiated with what we're feeding it. He said that they had a small milling machine. They could get a paving box from another community, and he had the crew ability to do this. I said, go ahead, let's get it done. They ended up using about 98 ton of asphalt in getting this done. But what this does is gets us to what we hope gets us to the point in time in the future when the next road program is approved and we can actually start doing some of these major projects again. So it wasn't the whole road, unfortunately, but that's probably a $2 million project that if we can get the next roads project going, it'll be on at that point in time. So this will hopefully get us to that time frame. But again, DPW, our crews went out there partnering with another town, using their equipment to get this done.
So, Mayor, to the town manager, I have a question on the crack seal program. I always thought DPW went out and did that. I didn't realize we contracted that out. When did that change?
Geez, when I was here last, we were contracting out. We had a small ability. I think we had a small trailer that would allow us to do small jobs, but not these large jobs that is required.
Okay. All right. Then I see, $120,000. I'm looking at that. I'm sorry.
It doesn't go very far, I'll tell you that.
Well, I know, but I just always thought that our DPW did that. So news to me that we're contracting that, but I learn something new every meeting. So, all right. Thank you.
And that's all I have.
You had a question for Matt?
Just a quick comment, Matt. I heard you say you weren't sure on 2027 spending. Does that mean there will be nothing left of the 2021 referendum for next year's roads? We will be completely wiped out for roads money.
I know, again, we're looking at everything to try to find out what will be available for those last 3 roads that are under design. There's a fairly good chance that we're not going to be able to complete all 3 under this. Since we don't have a referendum, we're kind of, 1, limited in what we can do. 2, from an expenditure standpoint, we know we have $500,000 that we commit every year to that. Unless council changes that habit, we know there should be $500,000 in next year, the following year's budget that we could use towards road maintenance. Probably not construction, because most of our roads have been going north of 500,000.
Right.
One of the reasons why I brought up those 2 ancillary road projects is to show you that there's money in this year's budget, that again, if you wish to next year, we can start shifting money that way to do those type of things.
Yep.
But I think to do anything meaningful next year, we're going to have to spend more money, which means we have to figure out how to get more money.
Right.
And so we're looking at those things, and it may be that we spend money doing design in anticipation of the roads, because, you know, the money we have, again, may not go that far in construction, maybe some maintenance, but not much
Right.
more than that.
Well, I appreciate the slide that points out, you know, like 2024, we spent $7 million on roads, and then 2025, $8 million, and then this year we spent 1.7.
Yeah.
So it just tells me we really needed a roads referendum this year to kind of continue with this kind of aggressive road repair. Because if you look at the roads that were started at the beginning of Roads 2000, when we first started passing the roads referendum, those roads are already in need of being done now again. So I really wish we would have done roads this year, because I think then next year we're going to be a year behind, which really creates another almost a year and a half of not any significant road repairs. So that's my feedback on that. But thank you, Matt, for those numbers. I appreciate it. And thank you for the repair to Powder Hollow. I know a lot of people truly appreciate that. So thank you.
Okay, town attorney report.
Nothing for tonight, thank you.
Thank you. Report of special committees of the council, number 11. Go ahead, Councilor Mangini.
Thank you. The Patriot Committee did meet, and we chose Earl Provencher as the Patriot of the Year. He will be honored at the 4th of July celebration on Sunday evening, and there was a wonderful selection of applicants, but Earl stood out, so he is our nominee. The prison liaison meeting took place Wednesday evening, and pretty much we were provided with the current count of the prisons, and we did talk about, I guess they're looking at mail scanners for drugs and illegal parcels coming through, and that seems to be working quite well. And there are no staffing issues, so we don't meet again until December. This committee meets 4 times a year. And we did have a public safety subcommittee meeting, and pretty much just the long and the short of it, we had a wonderful presentation from, I'm trying to think of the name of the company. I know Steve knows it. I came forward and presented how possibly we can look at speeding and safety issues. And they're hopefully maybe going to be given a presentation to council at some point. But it was really very interesting. The particular program is actually enforced in different parts of our state and different states themselves. And it's something that, council may want to really seriously consider. More on that to come. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. 12, unfinished business, there is none. New business number 13A is the consent agenda. There are 5 items on the consent agenda. 3 Steve already touched on, and 2 are reappointments for the fair rent. So can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? 10 in favor, none against. Thank you. And we have 13B1 is the Historic District Commission. There is an opening. If I can get a nominee, please. Anyone? Nomination?
I will, sorry, got excited. I will nominate Tony Velasquez.
Thank you. Nomination is made. Is there a second? Motion made and seconded.
Motion to close nominations.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to close nominations. All in favor of closing nominations? 10 in favor, none against. And any discussion? All in favor of Tony Velazquez? 10 in favor, none against. That's yes, Cindy? Yes, okay. Thank you. And number 2 is the North Central District Health Board of Directors, Enfield representative. If I can have a nomination, please.
I'd like to nominate Caitlin Velasquez.
Second.
Motion
Made
to
and
close.
seconded.
Motion to close nominations.
Motion made to close nominations and seconded. All in favor of closing nominations? 10 in favor, none against. Any discussion? All in favor of Caitlin? 10 in favor, none against. Thank you. Item C, resolution to transfer the funds for the Department of Public Works Buildings and Grounds Division and RRM Division for fiscal year 2026 budget shortfalls in the amount of $353,609. Be it resolved that in accordance with Chapter 6, Section 8F of the Town Charter, the following transfer is hereby made from general fund revenues appropriated fund balance of $353,609 to general fund buildings and grounds, utility services, and $10,000, water and sewage, $14,000, natural gas, $133,608, and bottled gas, $2,750. 2, general fund RRM, disposal services in the amount of $193,251. Date prepared 6/4/2026 by Donald Nunes, Director of Public Works.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Donald, you're up here. We have a really good overview in our packet of what these shortfalls are. Unfortunately, there are shortfalls. I don't know if, Donald, you want to do, we have a good overview, so if there are specific questions for Donald, he's here to answer them. But, you know, unfortunately, this is where we are. And a lot of it is due to natural gas. Yeah. Utilities, yeah. Okay. Anything to add?
Yeah,
that
well,
we
again,
don't
natural
have?
gas, we've seen about a 10% increase in usage, and also the rate increase coupled with that. Disposal services, we had budgeted 13,500 tons of municipal solid waste. If June's numbers hold true for the last, like averaging the last 3 years, we're going to be up to almost 15,000 tons this year for trash. So that's where that primary driver is from.
Whew. Great. Thank you. All right. Sensing no other questions, roll call, please.
Counselor Hall?
4.
Counselor Mangini?
4.
Counselor Matthews?
4.
Counselor Pisner?
4.
Counselor Thomas?
4.
Counselor Ungary?
4.
Counselor Zanoni?
4.
Counselor Allegro?
4.
Mayor Sakala?
4.
And Counselor Crisati?
4.
10 in favor, none against.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
13D, resolution to transfer funds from completed ARPA projects in the amount of $16,560.78. Be it resolved that in accordance with Chapter 6, Section 8F of the Town Charter, the following transfer is hereby made from COVID-19 funds for Social Services Discretionary Fund, miscellaneous $200, Social Services Mental Health Coalition, 2 cents. Grant writing contractor, other professional services in the amount of $10,799.40. Thompsonville Bike Path, other professional services in the amount of $1,603.80. Police vehicles, $3,619.56. Business assistance, and $88. Not-for-profit assistance in the amount of $250. 2, COVID-19 fund, Sparkle Street Pump Station construction services in the amount of $16,560.78. They
moved.
prepared 6/5/2026 by John Wilcox.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. The good news is we had some leftover COVID funds, and the good news is we're putting it towards a pump station. So that is what this transfer is. I don't know if anybody has questions for John on this. This is good news. So, all right, roll call, please.
Counselor Hall?
Hi, John.
4. Counselor Mangini? Counselor Mangini?
4.
Counselor Matthews?
4.
Counselor Pisner?
4.
Counselor Thomas?
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
Counselor Zanoni.
4.
Counselor Allegro.
4.
Mayor Sakala.
4.
And Counselor Crisati.
4.
10 members in favor, none against.
Thank you. Item 13E, a resolution to approve a 4-year collective bargaining agreement with CSEA, SEIU, Local 2001. Resolved that Enfield Town Council does hereby approve the 4-year collective bargaining agreement between the Town of Enfield and the Connecticut State Employees Union, CSEA, Local 2001, dated July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2029. Date prepared 6/9/2026 by Steve Belinda.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. Steve, if you want to, I mean, we have to do these every couple of years.
Yeah, I just want to point out one highlight, and this was a result of working closely with the school superintendent. In his teacher negotiations, they negotiated with the teachers, which is the overall largest bargaining unit in the town, medical management program, and meeting with the superintendent periodically, like every other week or so. We are now taking that language, and I applied it for these two unions, the medical management program and the prescription management program, which will also become effective 2027, July 1st, and the non-union will also be part of that, as we're starting the next generation of language changing the formula. This is going to result in a savings to the town. The superintendent's also taken a plan out of our book and going to high deductible plans for the rest of their bargaining unit employees, which they, unbeknownst to us, weren't doing that for the nurses, their other cafeteria employees. So we're starting to work together so that way you don't have one branch saying to the other branch, oh, we didn't get that. How come they're... We're working together. These raises are similar to all the other collective bargaining agreements at the time, currently, and similar towns. State got 4.5, but we're not competing with the state here. So, yeah.
3.
Okay, yep.
Right? Yeah, they did 3. Okay. Any questions for Steve on this? Sensing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Hall.
4.
Counselor Mangini.
4.
Counselor Matthews.
4.
Counselor Pisner.
4.
Counselor Thomas.
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
Counselor Zanoni.
4.
Counselor Allegro.
4.
Mayor Sakala.
4.
And Counselor Crisati.
4.
10 members in favor, none against.
Item 13F, resolution to approve the 4-year collective bargaining agreement with CSEA SEIU, Local 2001 Supervisory Union. Resolved that the Enfield Town Council does hereby approve the 4-year collective bargaining agreement between the Town of Enfield and the Connecticut State Employees Supervisory Union, Local 2001, dated July 1, 2025 through June 30, 2029. Date prepared 6/9/2026 by Steve Belinda.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. Steve, anything different on this one?
I negotiated these
3%
at the same time,
over
and it's
4
pretty much the
years.
same.
You
Yep.
negotiated at the same time. Any questions for Steve on this? No? All right, sensing none. Again, thank you for the write-up on each of these. It was very helpful and pretty informative. So roll call, please.
Counselor Hall. 4. Counselor Mangini.
4.
Counselor Matthews.
4.
Counselor Pisner.
4.
Counselor Thomas.
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
Counselor Zanoni.
4.
Counselor Allegro.
4.
Mayor Sakala.
4.
And Counselor Crisati.
4.
10 members in favor, none against.
All right, 13G, resolution to authorize non-union wage increases for the full and part-time eligible employees. Be it resolved that the Enfield Town Council does hereby approve in accordance with the wishes of the Town Council and adherence to the policy and procedure established by the Town Manager that Section 1, the aggregate sum of $205,000, is that 358?
Yeah, it
there's
looks like something got
Extra
358.
number, but 358. In COLA, wage increases is authorized for all qualified non-union full-time employees to the Town of Enfield. Section 2, the aggregate sum of approximately $42,544 in COLA wage increases is authorized for all qualified non-union regular part-time employees of the Town of Enfield. Section 3, the application of the wage increases referenced above shall be applied July 1, 2026. Date prepared 6/9/2026 by the Town Manager's Office. Motion made and seconded.
Second.
Okay, this is for the non-union eligible employees. Any questions, Counselor Mangini?
Friendly amendment to get rid of that extra digit.
I mean, there's not a decimal point. It's not even a number.
Just leave it alone.
I don't
I don't know
that
when
it's
went wrong.
gonna-
When I gave it to Cheryl, it was maybe,
It's not, I mean, the number can't be more than $205,358.
I promise you it's not.
Yeah, because there's just not another number that exists. Yeah, no, I get it, yeah. I don't know if it's something that we need to amend. I don't think so. I think
Mayor,
it's fine.
did you say it was a friendly amendment and confirmed it was 205,358?
Yeah,
That's sufficient for me for the minutes.
yeah. Okay. Any questions on this? Sure, Counselor Hall.
Who, through the mayor to Steve, who, I know it's non-union, but who specifically does this apply to?
All non-union members, unless they were recently hired, then they wouldn't be eligible because they haven't been here a year. I included, from the town manager on down, anyone that fits that description of non-union.
Okay, so it's right across the town, every
Correct.
non-union worker.
Except the town manager.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, and the total for the year would be the 205?
358 plus the part-timers, which is 42,544.
So the part-timers are getting this increase as well?
That's correct.
Okay, okay, thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Counselor Hall.
4.
Counselor Mangini.
4.
Counselor Matthews.
4.
Counselor Pisner.
4.
Counselor Thomas.
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
Counselor Zanoni.
4.
Counselor Allegro.
4.
Mayor Sakala.
4.
And Counselor Crisati.
4.
10 members in favor, none against.
Thank you. Item 13H, Enfield High School Turf Field Policy Amendment to Resolution Number 6422. Do I have to read this whole thing? Does somebody want to make a motion to?
Motion to waive the reading.
Second?
Thank you. All in favor of waiving the reading? 10 in favor, none against. Thank you. Can I get a motion to, I still need a motion to approve the resolution, right? Can I get a motion to approve?
And a second.
Okay. Motion made and seconded. So this is amending our prior field
So,
use
yeah,
resolution.
Council on November 14th, 2022 adopted a resolution, 6422,
Mm-hmm.
that effectively said that the only people that can use that turf, the synthetic field at EHS, was for school use. Because the annex field has been taken down, being replaced, there was discussion with leadership that we would allow some use of that. We're trying to keep it limited to just this summer. I think the bigger picture is the DPW subcommittee is right now working on the facility policy, and all of that will be wrapped into that, but it's just, it's going to take a little bit more time. And so this gives the ability to use it during the summer when we only have one field available.
Right. I mean, this gives the soccer people a place
Primarily,
to use. And so it goes from June 1st already active to August 1st, which is when their season ends. That clears it up for the band, and then Rambler, Enfield High School, and sports, football, field hockey, they all go on there.
And we are moving very quickly with the field replacement at the annex. I mean,
Perfect.
I think down left, but I believe within the next 2 weeks, they're going to start that project. So.
Wonderful. Okay. All right. Sure, go ahead, Counselor Hall.
Through the mayor to Matt, so this being gone last week, I'm out of the loop a little bit. This has been run by whoever's going to utilize those fields, and they understand the outline and the change.
Yeah, they are done, so ESA is done in July with their use of the field.
Okay, Okay, and this does not apply to the Ramblers, or this Ramblers doesn't need to utilize?
It technically could apply to them.
Okay.
If during that time frame they would need it. But again, we're very confident
That the field will be ready?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you for that.
We did make sure that, I think, I don't know if it was discussed, Marie, we did make sure that that got them through their season before we ended. And I think Matt did say that he's had some conversations with Jeff, which is good, yeah. Okay, roll call, please.
Counselor Hall. 4. Counselor Mangini.
4.
Counselor Matthews.
4.
Counselor Pisner. 4. Counselor Thomas.
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
Counselor Zanoni.
4.
Counselor Allegro.
4.
Mayor Sakala.
4.
And Counselor Crisati.
4.
10 members in favor, none against.
All right, I expect everybody to fight over making this resolution motion and seconded, but I will read it. 13I is a resolution canceling selected regular meetings in August of 2026. Resolved that the Enfield Town Council does hereby cancel the regular meetings of the council scheduled for August 3rd, 2026 and August 17th,
So moved.
2026. I haven't finished. August 17th, 2026, date prepared 5/19/2026 by the town manager's office. Motion was made by Counselor Thomas and seconded by everybody, yeah. So we are going to cancel the regular meetings, but just be aware that if there's something time sensitive, we will schedule a special meeting. But any discussion? Great, roll call, please. Except Zach, he's gonna be
Counselor
sad.
Hall.
4.
Counselor Mangini.
4.
Counselor Matthews.
4.
Counselor Pisner.
4.
Counselor Thomas.
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
Counselor Zanoni.
Against?
Oh my.
I almost said that.
Oh my God.
Are you serious?
No, he's not serious.
Counselor Allegro.
4.
Mayor Sakala.
4.
Counselor Crisati.
Here. No.
I can't.
10
Four.
members
This is
in
why we
favor,
need to
none
cancel.
against.
We got to keep it light. You have to keep it light. 4.
Was that 10 in favor, right?
10 in
Really
favor,
sorry your
none
August
against.
is ruined now, Zach. Sorry. Don't know what you're going to do with your time. Yeah. All right. Items 14, items for discussion, there is none. 15, any other business proper to come before said meeting, there is none. 16 is public communications, there is nobody here. 17, counselor communications? All right. Can I get a motion to
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? 10 in favor, none against. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.